This is crazy. Last time I saw this car was back in '96. Looks similar to the wheels that were on it, which is kind of your first dead giveaway when you look at it. Man, this is definitely a unique piece. It's a '96 BMW. Well, I think the right place, the right auction.
How much you want for the car?
One of the ones I did, I tell you really easy because it's got my signature on it.
In Japanese?
Oh, that as well, yeah. That says Phil in Japanese.
Kind of guys and 80 guys gravitated towards because they're known for being extremely fast playing guitars. The tremolo system locks so you can dive bomb on this guitar.
Chumley is on a mission to seek show-stopping items for the pawn shop. Knowing Chum, you'd probably think he's about to get himself into trouble, but I don't think so. In fact, it turns out that on his mission, Chum stumbled upon something intriguing that even Rick would be impressed with. Now, what has Chum found? You'll see.
So I found something that could make Rick a whole bunch of money. This place is amazing.
World's largest collection of Nikes.
It looks like a temple to me, so give me a minute while I meditate.
Even I couldn't agree more. While this vast sneakers collection looks really cool, Rick is all about business and couldn't help but ask why this collection is so important. Let's see how that goes.
So what's so special about these, Chum?
I mean, you got the What the Dunks, you got the Supreme collection, you got the Huffs, you got the Diamond Tiffany Blues. Everything's here. Can't believe it.
So what exactly is a dunk?
Here we go. Rick's bizarre bargaining skills aren't much of a surprise to many of us, but $1 million to $300,000? Common Rick. Anyway, do you think these two will be able to meet each other in the middle and strike a fair deal? Let's find out!
Come down to 9.
Rick, don't let the deal of a lifetime slip out of your hands. Rick is a tough negotiator, but I can't let him pass this one up. This is a gold mine for him, and not to mention a pretty big payday for me.
Rick looks like he really wants to buy this Holy Grail collection. However, his businessman side doesn't back down easily, especially with the bargaining. How about the seller? Will he budge on the price?
It was nice meeting you, man.
Rick.
It's nice meeting you too.
Rick!
I really appreciate you letting me see everything, but come on, Chum, we gotta go. It's not gonna happen.
You want to sell anything individually?
Thanks for coming by. Nah.
Adam brings a rare book to the pawn shop to see if he can sell it to the Harrisons. As he approaches the front desk, he meets one of the shop's salespeople, who admitted that he didn't know much about this rare book. Guess who was in the shop just in time to meet this seller? Here, take a look.
Sure.
Today was actually kind of weird. I was just looking at a book with Rick, and another one came in. It was just perfect timing.
The Adventures of Tom Sawyer.
I'm glad Adam knows the Harrisons too well, so there wouldn't be so much disappointment if he doesn't get what he wants in the end. Adam tells Rick he hoped to make $10,000 from the book's sale, but before he can strike a deal, Rick passes the book over to the book expert, Rebecca Romney, for her intel on the book. Let's see what Rebecca has to say, shall we?
This is a really rare Mark Twain salesman's prospectus. Salesman's copies were thrown out after they had served their use. That being said, it's also quite beat up.
Adam tries to convince Rick that the book is worth more than he is willing to pay. However, will Rick see any sense in what Adam is saying? Let's see how that goes.
I mean, I tried to find out, and the Library of Congress doesn't even have a copy of the salesman sample. It's that rare.
He's right that this is a more rare salesman sample.
It looks like Adam's sweet talking helped a little, right? Knowing that Rick has placed the price at $5,500, do you think Adam will take Rick's offer? Or will the duo strike a different bargain? Well, you're about to find out.
Fair price. You know it's a fair price.
I actually think $6,000 is cheap.
It was a little awkward to sit there during the negotiation. You want to put in your 2 cents, but it's not really your business.
This guy went to an estate sale for only one thing, to buy a lovely decorative mirror for his home. Luckily, he got home and found out that his mirror had a handwritten letter, which he believes belonged to the one and only George Washington. I promise you, I'm not making this up. You should hear it from the horse's mouth.
So I found it at an estate sale in Richmond, Virginia. Bought a nice decorative mirror. Get to the house, go to put the mirror up, cloth that covered the back of it ripped open, and taped underneath down at the very bottom was that guy right there.
Oh, wow. Rick goes on and on about Washington's history, which is quite interesting. Rick states that if the letter Donald brought to the shop is real, it will be an exciting keep. As Rick examines it, let's see whether this letter is an original or a fake.
October 21, 94, which I'm assuming is 1794.
Yes.
It reads, Sir, being about to return to the seat of government, I cannot take my departure without conveying through you.
Here we go again with the history, but let's see what Rick has to say anyway.
So there was farmers in Pennsylvania, and they didn't want to pay the taxes. It just basically came down to George Washington getting 13,000 troops, started marching towards Pennsylvania.
So this was all about whiskey?
Okay, I didn't see that coming either. $100,000? If this letter is legit, Donald will be going home a happy man. But is it? Well, Rick is about to call an expert who will give us the answer to that question.
100% sure. Ed Stewart is my go-to guy on historical documents.
I was really excited when you called me over because this is actually pretty important.
There's the possibility that this letter might be worth more than $100,000. At this point, I hope this letter is authentic. Let's get back to the expert's examination, shall we?
There are a few things I use to authenticate these types of documents. So first, I'm looking for period paper. So there should be parallel lines about an inch apart if you hold it up to the light.
Oh man, that sucks. Donald's hopes were punctured at that point. Even Rick looked slightly disappointed, and I'm sure you are too. Don't worry, guys. There might be a silver lining. The expert points out that the letter might have been written by George Washington's secretary, but signed by Washington himself. So, let's see if that's the case.
Let's come over here and look at the George Washington side by side. Here, he signs G.E.O. Washington, where in life, he usually signed G.O. Washington.
It looks like Donald will be making some money after all. However, the Harrisons were shocked to hear that the item was worth that much. Once the expert left, Rick immediately proposed a deal with Donald. How much did Rick offer Donald? Let's find out.
I can beat you up, but I'll give you $1,000 for it.
I feel like that's leaving $3,000 for you to just snatch up the next time somebody comes along to buy it. Let's go $2,000. I'll be out the door right now with $2,000.
Next, a man walks in with a rare Civil War pistol and is looking to make some cash from it. Rick immediately recognizes the pistol and admits that the seller might be holding the rarest Civil War gun ever.
It might be the rarest Civil War gun there is. You just walked in here with Jimmy Hoffa.
Right. The antique gun expert Alex comes in and is immediately surprised to see the pistol. Due to its rarity, he claims he had never seen this gun outside a museum. Alex examines the gun, and here is what he has to say.
11 known to exist, 4 have this etching, this design. The last one came to market that was etched, and it was almost $80,000.
Yikes! Another bubble burst. Since the expert is almost sure that the gun's serial number might have been tampered with, its worth will definitely be lower than initially anticipated. So, what's going to happen now? Let's find out.
It could be legitimate, but the serial numbers have been tampered with. And once that happens, you're not going to spend $80,000. Most collectors won't spend anything because they're too afraid to lose their investment.
The guy brings in 2 G.I. Joe playsets into the shop. Once Rick saw them, he became super excited. However, he doesn't know much about it, especially if they are worth money. So he seeks help from his friend Johnny.
Luckily, Johnny's a nerd, and he'll figure it out for me.
Wow.
Hey man, what's up?
What's up, man?
Hey, I'm Marty.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Interesting. Johnny explains that this toy set was quite expensive in the 1980s, and only a few people could afford it. Hence, he believes it is the holy grail of G.I. Joe. Anyway, the seller wants $500 for the toy set. What does Johnny think about that?
Looking at the condition of the boxes, the big part of the value is how complete it is. There's always the little parts missing.
How are we gonna know if every piece is here?
Interesting. The seller looks incredibly excited right now. So how much do you think the seller wants for his G.I. Joe set? Most importantly, how much is Rick willing to pay for it? Let's find out.
Hey, you brought your guy in, and he's telling me it's worth $5,000 now. I mean,
I'll tell you what, I'll give you $2,500 for them.
That's right. If those pieces aren't complete, Marty, the seller, will most likely return home the same way he came, but with an additional dashed hope. Fingers crossed, the sets will be intact.
this thing is really cool though, and it's actually comes all the way up.
Isn't that awesome?
You guys look like you're enjoying yourselves.
Well, all of this talk about G.I. Joe isn't really appealing to Rick, the businessman. All he wants to know is whether the set is complete. So, is the toy set complete? You're about to find out.
Is it all here?
Well, overall, figures are here, instructions are here, and luckily all the pieces are complete.
We've seen sellers bring incredible guitars into the Harrisons' pawn shop time and again, but this time, we have one that just might be the holy grail of guitars. David wants to sell a 1963 American-made Fender Stratocaster, and in a bid to convince Rick to buy it from him, he provides enough insight on the guitar.
Oh, to me, this is the guitar.
But there's something very, very special about this specific guitar.
All right.
This guitar was actually played by Jimi Hendrix.
With a price like that, we all know Rick will have to ask an expert for help. let's see what the expert Jesse has to say about this guitar.
Stupid cool. I mean, one of Jimmy's guitars. Hendrix turned the guitar into an extension of his body. Every way he moved was altering the sound of the guitar. When you see him dip.
However, Jesse isn't done with examining the guitar yet. Let's hear what more he has to say about it.
Another thing is what they call ring wear. If you're playing the guitar like this, my wedding ring hits the guitar, removes a lot of the paint, finish from there. If you look at this guitar, the top side of the neck has a lot of that wear. That's from the guitar being.
Well, that's incredible. While Rick is psyched to have such a unique guitar in his shop, he is wary of a few things. What are those things? You're about to find out.
On a personal level, I absolutely love it, but you have to find the right auction. It has to be advertised, and let me give you $450,000.
450? Man.
My thing is, I take all the risk, you walk away with cash.
Yikes. This is one tough bargain. Neither party is willing to compromise for the other, but who would? We're talking huge sums of money here. Anyway, would these two strike a deal or not? Let's find out.
Hey, well, have a nice day. Tell me if it goes to auction, I might bid on it.
In this scene, a guy approaches Rick to sell an old record, which Rick doesn't even recognize. So, just in case it might be the real deal, he decides to send for his expert, Warwick Stone. Warwick arrives at the scene and shocks Rick with these words.
He's right. This is the holy grail of doo-wop 78s. Stormy Weather's a great track, isn't it? Lena Horne made it her signature tune in the 40s.
Right. So, what's more there is to know about this old record. Is it even worth anything? Warwick isn't done with his analysis, so let's see what more he has to say, shall we?
A doo-wop record store in Times Square. Somebody brought this record in to show the owner of the record store he wanted to play it on his...
What an exciting story. As Warwick examines the record, it looks like it has a similar crack. But there's one issue. How do they know whether the crack on this record is the same one made by the raccoon? Let's see if Warwick has a means to determine that.
I can't add in any value for the raccoon. It all goes to condition.
So what do you think it's worth?
This record could have gone for upwards of $20,000.
Next, Chumlee encountered a seller with a sword so impressive you'd want to get it from him on the spot. However, Chum knows to be more careful and calls in the help of a very good friend, Alex, one of Rick's most trusted experts. Let's see how it goes from there.
Holy grail, this thing is pretty mysterious.
Wow, I know this sword.
At least one of us does.
Well, this is actually, it's like a historically significant sword.
Really?
Right. Alex explains that the Arabic writing on the sword signified that the sword was created in Persia, with the intention of it being for someone in the position of the country's head of state. However, the sword became not just a ceremonial sword, but also a battle sword. Anyway, Alex has more to say about this sword, so let's hear from him.
I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, it's really second to none.
I've never seen you speechless.
It's just, you know, you hear about these things, you never really think you're gonna like walk in and see it.
So it has been confirmed that the sword has a good value. Now, how much do you think the seller will ask for it? Most importantly, how much will Chum offer for the sword? Let's find out, guys.
I'd buy it for $20,000.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Yeah.
The problem is, it's too big of a risk for me.
Right.
I'd love to offer you $50,000 for this sword, possibly even more, but...
We've seen swords, coins, toy sets, and many other exquisite items today. But one item we haven't seen yet is clothing. In this episode, a man wants to sell a straight jacket, which he claims belonged to Harry Houdini. Sounds fascinating, right? However, the seller has no paperwork for this jacket, so there's no proof of its authenticity. We all know Rick will call in his expert in such a situation.
Good to see you, eh?
Hey, Rick. Hey, man, how's it going?
I'm a magician. I travel the world doing various magic. I've been in magic over 25 years.
This is what I called you about. This is supposed to be Houdini's straitjacket.
Wow.
Murray seems to know a lot about Houdini. However, the main thing the Harrisons want to know is if this jacket is truly Houdini's. Let's see what Murray has to say about that.
Interesting with all these jackets is that each jacket was individually made by hand. Each rivet has a certain space, and these rivets are never going to match another jacket's spacing.
Well, the verification has yet to be completed. These guys have to strike a balance on this jacket. So, will Murray be able to authenticate it? Let's see.
I'll look at my resources, and I have a huge file of resources, and that'll let me know if I can authenticate this or not.
Okay, sounds good.
Great, thanks guys.
Hey, you're back.
I am.
Finally.
Yeah, I know, sorry about that.
That sounds like good news. Murray even counted the stitches like he said he would, and they were a match. The seller was filled with excitement when he heard Murray say this.
Well, this is Houdini's jacket, January 1st, 1915 in St. Louis.
That is absolutely awesome.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Even in magic history.
Now that we found out that it's real, I wish me and my cousins hadn't played so hard in it when we were 5 and 6 years old.
Another tough bargain. Will these two be able to strike a deal on this incredible jacket? You're about to find out.
You know what, I'll go 25 grand. I mean, that is tops.
If you could come up to 30, then we've got a deal.
I'll go.
Well, you know, I think I'll keep it.
In this episode, we have another unique item at the shop. A stretch serpent head. At this point, I wonder where these guys even find these weird items. Anyway, there's an argument between Big Papa Harrison and Corey on the item's value, and an expert is around to save the day.
Familiar with Stretch Armstrong?
I had a Stretch Armstrong in the early 70s, yeah.
Well, this came out at the end of the era. This is the head of a stretch serpent. You know, you're missing the body, but this is...
Yeah, we're missing the damn body.
The joy on Corey's face knew no bounds. So was the shock on Papa Harrison's. The expert Johnny claims that the stretch serpent head is one of the rarest of its kind, and that the Harrisons are lucky to have such an item in their shop. At this point, even Rick was in awe of this serpent head.
This is like the holy grail of Stretch Armstrong stuff.
Yeah, the guys who collect these aren't going to argue too much with price because they know how rare these pieces are.
You got to be kidding me. I don't know how...
Next up, we have another toy item. This time, it's a 1960 Volkswagen Space Patrol toy car. While Rick acknowledges the toy's uniqueness, he still isn't sure about purchasing the car, so he invites an expert to help him examine and authenticate it. Let's take a look at how that goes.
Space Patrol Volkswagen convertible.
Wow.
Original box and everything.
This is really, really cool. You don't see too many of them, and part of it is there wasn't a lot distributed here in the United States.
That got everyone nodding their heads in approval until the expert said this. Here, watch this.
However, I think there's a couple issues with this car. As I looked it over, I could see some overspray on it.
Really?
And that overspray isn't consistent with what the litho technology would have been.
Ouch. If only they hadn't tried to repaint the toy car, the seller would probably be going home as the happiest man in the world. So, does this mean Rick wouldn't buy the car from him? Let's find out.
It's like a pretty low estimate from what he told me.
It's Steve. He's a really honest guy. He's just giving me his opinion. Sure. And if there's been repairs to it, it's a big no-no.
I mean, I wasn't even aware of the repair on this one, but...
In this episode, Rick goes to LA to see Dan, who claims to have some epic Willy Wonka memorabilia. Rick is highly excited to see these items, and even I am too. Let's take a look at them, shall we?
He's got Gene Wilder's hat, he's got Wonka bars, he's got the golden egg, a golden ticket, and what is that?
What would you want it to be?
Oh my God. Is it the everlasting gobstopper?
Yeah.
That's the real deal?
I'm even getting chills holding it.
It's like the Hope Diamond.
Would you look at how these two grown men are fawning over kids' fictional characters? Seeing Rick's excitement, I doubt anything would stop him from buying these items. But we also know that anything can happen. So, let's see how it goes.
Yeah, Slugworth came to Charlie and told him he'd give him a bunch of money if he stole the everlasting gobstopper.
Yeah.
And at the end, Charlie turned around and just gave it back to Willy Wonka, and that's when Willy Wonka gave the factory.
Yes.
It's crazy too, because the movie was a flop.
Whoa, I didn't see that coming. $100,000 for just the gobstopper. I don't even want to think of how much the other items will be sold for. Anyway, let's find out whether Rick is willing to buy the gobstopper at that price.
It was your favorite film?
If you throw in a Wonka bar.
So that means that I'd literally be giving you
a Wonka bar.
And that's breaking up the set, though.
It's not really a set. They were just, they were just Wonka bars. I mean, but
I'll tell you what, I would give you one Wonka bar, and I'd give you the everlasting gobstopper.
Oh, nice. That did work out. You need to see how happy Rick was after buying this item. Here, take a look at this.
It's like the Fountain of Youth. I'm 7 years old again. I mean, these are crazy pricey, but putting these things in the shop will bring people in my shop. They're in amazing condition. They have all the provenance in the world. They're 100% legit.
Let's end this video with this fascinating 1860 $20 Roman gold piece, shall we? So, John, a local bail bondsman, wants to sell this gold piece to the Harrisons. He seems very desperate to sell the item. Why is that? You're about to find out.
I decided to come to the pawn shop today to sell my rare 1861 double eagle $20 gold piece. I took this coin for collateral against the guy skipping court, and he did skip court. Now I got to pay $50,000 bucks, so I'm hoping it'll make a dent in the $50,000 that I owe on this bond.
Right. Rick admits that the gold coin is rare and authentic and might be worth a whole lot of money, but that wasn't all he had to say.
The reason this one is worth so much money is because this was a really low mintage year. There's 11 different grades of mint state, from MS60 to MS70. The difference between a 61 and a 63 is the difference between 10,000 and 40,000. There's also a variant of this coin.
Well, I expected that. Rick's expert, Andrew, has arrived and will immediately examine the coin. Let's see how his examination goes, shall we?
$20 lib. When we had the 1849 gold rush, America had a substantial gold supply. They started issuing the $20 gold piece. Up till then, they only had the $10 gold piece. So that's why they call it a double eagle versus a eagle, which was a $10 gold piece.
Now I see why Rick wanted an expert to examine the coin before he bought it. What will the expert find during his analysis of the coin? Let's find out.
Distinguishable by the back. It was a design which was not accepted, but some of them were issued as patterns. There's less of them, and that's what makes the coin rare.
Okay, so is this it?
We'll look on the reverse, and that's how you could tell with the tall letters.
Oh wow! The coin may not have been what the seller thought it was, but it was worth a lot of money. Will Rick and John strike a deal after this new valuation?
You heard the man, 40 grand.
40 grand is not going to happen. I'm thinking more like 30 grand, and that's cash.
Well, he said it was worth 40, and I definitely need the money. How about 35? You know you're gonna make 5 grand off it.
I'm not necessarily going to make it 5 grand. I plan on making 5 grand.